everyone. My name is Alaa Kadri. I'm 22 years old, Syrian refugee in the Netherlands. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And now we are going to talk a little bit about racism and discrimination. First, we have, like all of us should agree on one point, that racism and discrimination is a thing that have been existing since a long time ago. It's not a thing that's just started because of the George Floyd's death. Back in the days of the Greek philosopher Aristotle, he had a discussion about slavery, and he had the very interesting sentences when he said that while Greeks by nature free people, the barbarian and basically any other nations but the Greeks are slave by nature. So that says something. I've been in the Netherlands since almost 3 years. As I've mentioned before, I've met people from different nationalities, from different backgrounds, different countries, and especially when I used to live in the 𝐍𝐀𝐂𝐂𝐇𝐓 camp, which is a refugee camp that we have to stay in at the beginning of our procedures here. We had to take some lessons about different topics, such as the language, and like the life in the Netherlands. But there was one kind of lesson that actually was basically teaching us how to act in a civil society. It was very humiliating for us because most of the people who actually attended the class were, like 90% of them had bachelor degrees back home, had master degrees, and most of them was actually doctors. So we went to the teacher and we told her that we do not accept this kind of lessons because we know how to act. She said, this is something we have to give it to you and you need this certificate to go on forward with your procedures. They treated us as numbers. They did not have any knowledge about our background, how we used to act, or what is our countries or our culture look like. The other stereotyping questions, such as, are you being forced to wear your hijab? Does anyone in your family have a criminal record? Or are you going to have arranged marriage? This is not a curiosity questions, because if you are curious, you would ask without having a previous assumption. But most of them actually, I had this discussion with a woman who didn't even believe me when I told her, it's my choice to wear this. We actually had an, disagreement, and we were fighting because she didn't believe me that it's my choice. Another thing, when me and my friends in the university had a trip to the European Commission in Brussels, which was a dream for me to go there, we were a group of almost 30 students, and I was asked to wait when all of them entered, and they asked me to show my ID and that I actually have a legal residence permit in the Netherlands. I give it to them, and I was okay with that. But when I entered and asked my friend, I was actually the only one who asked to show her ID. I don't know why, but working there is a thing that I've always dreamed about, and now I don't even think that they would give me a fair chance to reach it. Racism, it's a pandemic that had existed in the world since years ago, as I said. Maybe the victims are different, but the labeling, the mechanism, the lies, they are all the same. And when we ask for change, that could be scary for a lot of people, because even if they're not racist themselves, they are benefiting from this races or this privilege. When we talk with you about racism, most of you would not even admit that it exists in the society. But if you just took a moment and think, if one of your family, your son, your daughter, your sister or brother, wanted to have a relationship with maybe a practicing Muslim from the Middle East, or a Nigerian refugee, or someone who's asylum seeker who just came from the north of Asia, or just black person, maybe you will not have a full objection about it, but you know in the back of your head that your society actually would see those stuff, will judge them according of that stuff. The color of their skin, the religion that they're practicing would affect their future. And even if it didn't affect their future, even they were lucky to prove themselves, it has a chance to affect their children's future. Thinking about that maybe would open your eyes to see that the racism and the structural racism actually exist. And Staying silent will not change anything, but it's just gonna protect this system. And if you still don't believe, please check the data of the inequality of income, the school exclusion, the career prospect, or even the stop and search point in the airport. You will understand what we're talking about. These data are very visible, and it's your choice to choose what you want to be. If you just said that I'm not racist, this is not enough. You have to be an active anti-racist. If you do believe that Black Lives Matter, if you think that all of us have an equal chances, that we should actually introduce ourselves before people have assumption about us, you have to show that in real life. And you have to stop thinking that your action will not and cannot change anything, because a lot of people who actually changed the world, such as Mandela or Martin Luther King, a lot of people told them, don't bother, you will not make a difference, but they just ignored them and did it anyway. You have to act. Now it's a very historical moment of change for all of us, and if you are one of the people who are listening and watching us, have this privilege, have this benefits from the system, it's your chance to make things right. How many George are you waiting for? How many Iyad, that autistic young man, Palestinian one, who was a victim of police brutality, which I truly believe the officer who killed him will not even be charged because it's a privilege. You have to do something. There is nothing to wait for. Racism wants your silence, so you have to make some noise. Use your power, use your voice, use your privilege to be the voice of the people who are not heard, and be the change that all of us are just waiting for. Thank you so much for listening to me, and enjoy the rest of the evening.